Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton, and today let's talk about episode 36 of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's anime series. A very comedic heavy episode which has a lot of enjoyable points from start to finish, as we follow the theme of brother and sisterhood and how they both are twins, with Rin and Rinosuke being the main focus point. Yes, these characters are twins like I've just mentioned, but they do share a lot of similarities between each other in this episode, and that is what we focus on today. Both characters duel each other thanks to the situation that unfolds. It ends in a draw, so neither loses or neither wins. Both end the duel with 0 monsters on the field and 0 cards in their hand. The added plot twist at the end, with them both having that weird falling in love gimmick that we see Ranze have throughout the episode, I thought was a great twist to end off, as it gives more personality and gives her a deeper insight into the character of Rinosuke. As before this event sort of was told and known to us, we kind of viewed Rinosuke as this brotherly character that stepped up to face his sister in a duel to prevent her from being seen as crazy or fantastical in front of Yuuga and friends. He wanted to protect her kind of embarrassment. He didn't want her to get embarrassed in front of her friends or look like a fool because of the way she was love-struck. However, if we look deeper into this, now that we know that he too has that same condition, then it becomes a lot more telling for his character. It goes from being a brotherly act, which I still think is a part of it, to more of a personal act in hiding his own distaste for the fact that he too has that. One word I would describe this entire episode and the focus of this episode would be reflection. Because both characters that were focus points of this episode, that is Rinosuke and Ranze, both reflect each other a lot. And with this, I can imagine Rinosuke was doing the duel, seeing his sister act all crazy and love-struck because of this condition that they both have, and kind of resenting himself a little bit, or getting embarrassed at the fact that he too acts this way as well. So not only was he embarrassed by his sister's actions, he was embarrassed because his sister's actions reminded him of himself that he probably doesn't like all too much. Makes sense, because, I mean, if I personally was like that myself and I was love-struck by every person who, or lady, female, whoever gave me a compliment, and I acted the same way as Ranze does, yeah, I mean, it's understandable when you look at it from that point. So from a realistic standpoint, I like that. I liked it from a character building standpoint as well, because both Ranze and Rinosuke have not really been characters I've been all that interested in. I'm still not 100% invested in these characters, but I still want to learn more about them. So this episode does great in getting me interested in both again. So while we're on the topic of this love gimmick between these two characters, I really loved the change in animation when the fantasies started to arrive. Both for Yuuga and Gallen, I thought that the anime art style changed to more of a shoujo love manga type of art style, which to me shows more maturity, and it is similar to, it actually reminded me more similar of previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, which isn't really a bad thing or a good thing, because I like the art style in Sevens, but at the same time I appreciate the work they went into to making this fantasy of Ranze even more over the top and even more crazy and comedic. So from that aspect, that element, I really did appreciate it. The whole idea of having both Ranze and Rinosuke fall in love with someone thanks to a simple act of kindness or compliment, again, I thought was a great feature added. As if we look at a real world example, when we're young, when we're 10 to like 15, we're very heavily influenced by the things around us. And remember, these characters are very young. They are, what, 10 to 12 years old, if I remember correctly? So the fact that they'll be influenced by their surroundings makes a lot of sense. And when you are younger, someone gives you a compliment, you do tend to gravitate towards positivity, because that's what we're built to learn up on. We're built to learn, or we're brought up learning, the fact that kindness is something to be cherished. Friendship is something to be honoured. And it goes hand in hand with like the kind of theme of their characters as well, of both Ranze and Rinosuke. So yeah, for that aspect of it, I did like. But I do think we're going to learn more about these Ran's eyes and Rinosuke's eyes, both from a comedic standpoint and both from a storytelling standpoint in the future. Because we both don't know everything about Ranze and Rinosuke. Those characters still need a bit more development if we're going to push those characters forward further in the future. As well as the fact is, this mode reminds me a little bit of Roman's Berserk mode. In the fact that both changes the user's personality when using it. When not in this state, Ranze and Rinosuke are quite serious. They're quite sort of focused and fixated on their task at hand. Yet when in this, they lose all kind of sense of normality and they go crazy and love-struck and like, oh. Same with Roman. She changes. She goes from her normal, lively, quirky self to really angry and like sort of aggressive and metal rock, like, sort of style. So, there's that similarity. They both have the change of appearance with the eyes changing colour. Again, clouding their mind, clouding their judgment, making it so that they become a different person altogether. So there definitely are some similarities between the Berserker mode and the Eyes mode, if that's what we're going to call it. But nevertheless, hopefully we see it expand on in the future, because it's something I would like to see them come back and revisit. Again, even if it's just for comedic elements. With that being said though, having 73 records of people that you have a crush on, Ranze, you need help. Really, you do. Talk to someone. Now this show keeps giving me reasons to like Gallen more and more with each passing episode. As seeing him soldier on despite being battered and bruised, injured all over, he still wants to stop Yuuga and friends in the name of the Great One. He still pushes on through. He gets to this underground coliseum for the cavalry club despite not having his excavator, which apparently is a very difficult feat to do on your own. So he clearly has his priorities straight, but we do have to talk about that falling down the stairs segment with his character, because that was goofy. Yeah, I couldn't stop watching and couldn't stop laughing at that, just the way that it was animated and the whole scene was presented. Does that make me a bad person? I don't know. But going back to Ranze real quick, she is super strong. Being able to catch Gallen like that, especially adding in the factors of the speed in which he was falling, the momentum that he was carrying when falling and tumbling, and the fact that he has a lot of muscle mass. Like, Gallen's a thick boy. So, yeah, Ranze, your strength is no joke. But nevertheless though, Gallen's character for me here, he didn't really have much of a presence outside of comedy, but at the same time, it does make me love his resolve and the character because of that resolve just that little bit more. And they've been consistently building up Gallen's character over and over, giving us features and elements to his character to enjoy in each passing episode, and not really making him the main focal point. This I really do like because it's subtly building up the character, and I do have this sneaky feeling that Gallen's going to push himself too far and something seriously bad is going to happen to him. Maybe he'll sacrifice himself for the Great One? We'll just have to wait and see. But speaking of the Great One, she clearly has her priorities straight as well. Because she's meant to be sorting out Team Yuuga. She's meant to be utterly crushing Rushdols. And yet she's cleaning R6. I mean, okay, we know she loves R6. She loves her excavator. But, yeah. I mean, our main female protagonist of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s is more concerned about making sure R6 isn't dirty than completing the mission or the job. It's either that or she has, like, immense faith in her hegemon. Anyway, let's move on. Something else I really want to put out there is how buff is Yuuga? I mean, he needs to have some sort of muscle for the fact that he has to pull along his roads. But the display of strength in catching runs was quite a feat in of itself. And he shows great intuition, hinting at the fact he knew how the duel was going to go from the very beginning when talking to Roman afterwards. She said, "Oh, did you know that was happening from the start?" And he goes, "Well, he's done this before in the series already. He's already hinted at knowing the results of the duel I think the last sort of notable one was when he was facing, when Rook was facing Schrodinger. I think there was a similar scene to that. But yeah, I mean, Yuuga again consistently shows he's a smart, he's a mature, he's a intuitive character, I think is the word I was looking for there. But nevertheless, I really do like the display from all characters involved in the episode. Even Rook's little jokes, they were subtle and small. So yeah, even that was tolerable in this episode. And is it just me, or did anyone else get real Yuya vibes from Yuuga in this episode? When he started talking about wanting to make Asana smile with rush duels, it very heavily reminded me of Arc 5 with Yuya wanting to make everyone smile, even his opponents. Yeah, so are we going to see some similarities with that? Well, I got a theory coming out about that soon. Anyway, with the Star Wars references occurring still within this episode, with the pretend lightsaber battle between Chevelle and the Pigeon, that was a bit more of an in-your-face reference to Star Wars, but nevertheless, that was a very good scene, brilliantly executed with the sound effects and the visual effects. I thought that was pretty cool, not gonna lie. But the character of Chevelle does intrigue me a bit, because so far with his character, personality-wise, all we've seen is immaturity. With this scene with him playing lightsabers with the Pigeon, we see him act in his movements very immature-like. And then in the preview, we see him pull a face like, to Rook, which again shows the fact he's got a very immature nature. So I'll be interested to see how they handle this and how they have a character that is kind of stupid and dumb outside of dueling in Rook, facing off against the Pigeon / Chevelle, who is acting very immature and childlike outside of dueling to what we know so far. I think that could be an interesting dynamic to explore. Nevertheless, we'll have to wait until the next episode. However, with all the Flower Fang monsters that we get introduced to in this episode, I do have to stand by what I said in my other review, that Flower Fang, Kunoichi, and Ranze is still the best designed looking Flower Fang archetype monster, maybe even the best designed monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's in my personal opinion. I thought Sebastian's cards were probably the coolest, but with what we know that's happened to Sebastian now, his cards probably aren't going to be used for a long time, so this card goes back to being my favourite card in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's currently being used. So yeah, I mean, I just love the design of this card, wanted to add that in there, because we did get quite a few ninjas using shotguns or barrel guns, not really into that. And the other ace monster that Ranze summons looks cool, wasn't that interested. Main star for me was in Ranze. Now, knowing that Rook will be dueling that Pigeon in the next episode, I am excited to see how that turn of events is going to unfold and play out, because although it scares me with the over-comedic element of the show, being really comedic and goofy, I'm still kind of willing to give it a chance to give us some goofy and light-hearted episodes before going back to some seriousness in episode 88. I'm hoping that that episode will bring us a more serious sort of vibe and tone back into the series, move the story along a bit more, but here's to hoping and here's to waiting. Nevertheless, I'm excited to see what the next episode will bring. Again, not really much to say on it. It's crazy, it's unpredictable. We're just going to have to see if Rook will get his first loss against a Pigeon. But the way that they've kind of set it up to the point where they can't leave unless they win makes it so Rook is probably going to be victorious nevertheless. Hopefully they throw a curveball, but again, it's a waiting game. We'll have to see next week. Overall, I really enjoyed this goofy episode, and yeah, hope for great things to come in the future. But I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think, and of any points I did or did not raise, let me know your thoughts about them. But yeah, I mean, don't forget to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content in the future. I've got 2 mini Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's theories that are not based on Otis coming in the next couple of weeks. So they're in the works, they're being created, just writing up the scripts and everything like that, and getting all the images sorted, and then they'll be up on the channel. So stay tuned and look out for that. Above all else though, have a great day, and I'll speak to you next time. Alligator, matane, goodbye.